Media Center here at the U.S. Open in honor of Bud Collins. We're going to be hearing from four speakers. I'm going to get out of the way because it's a little crowded. We're going to be hearing from the USTA Chairman of the Board and President, Katrina Adams, noted journalist from the New York Times, George Vesey, President and head of the Tennis Channel, Ken Solomon, and Billie Jean King, and then Bud, and then we will get as much photos as you need. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Katrina to begin the formal dedication.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2015 U.S. Open and the Bud Collins U.S. Open Media Center. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I'd like to welcome everyone to this wonderful occasion to honor a wonderful man, someone who is near and dear to all of us in this room, to the thousands of players that have come across the tours of the ATP as well as the WTA, and many other recreational players around the world. Bud has been a fixture on television for many years for those of us that grew up, a fixture for me, a voice in the paper. I just remember my first encounter, well, first of all, my first visual encounter was that, who is that guy in his crazy pants? But of course, me being the fashionista that I am, I grew to admire them year after year and always look forward to seeing what Bud was going to be wearing the next time that I saw him, either in person or on camera. But for me, as a professional player, my first real encounter with mass media was at Wimbledon of 1988. I got to the fourth round of Wimbledon, losing to Chris Evert in 3 sets. And that's right. And Bud was the journalist and commentator at the time that really took care of me and knew everything about me, and I was just amazed of what he knew and about me, my background, etc. And from that moment on, every time I saw Bud, no matter what time of the year or what tournament, he said, "Hey, Wildcat," as I went to the Northwestern University Wildcat. So he always knew that I was a Wildcat, and he always knew that I played college tennis, and really supported me throughout my career. So on behalf of the USTA Board of Directors, congratulations, Bud. Well done. Steffi might have had something to do with that year. So I'd like to pass it on to George.
So I want to talk about 3 things with Bud. One is his versatility. When I was breaking in as a young chipmunk in Newsday, Bud was covering politics, government. He wrote about the Vietnam War. He wrote about Muhammad Ali with great curiosity and respect. He covered the Celtics and the Red Sox. I also want to talk about his generosity. When he became one of the great authorities of any sport that I know, and I've covered all of those, many of the sports, Bud was generous. He could be typing on deadline in here, and you'd go up to him and say, "Bud, what was Kitty Godfrey like?" And he would say, "Lovely lady, I had tea with her a decade ago," and they tell you about her forehand or backhand and anything else. But the third thing, the thing we're really thinking about, and Katrina alluded to it, what really sets Bud apart is his audacity, the nerve to wear this stuff. To come in, and I don't think I'll ever forget watching at home on television, and Chris Evert had just lost the final, and I think I know it at home, but she lost the final. That could happen too. And she came off the court, live world television, and there's the NBC Peacock standing right there with his microphone. And Chris Evert looks up and down at him, and she says, "Nice pants, Bud." Isn't that really what Bud is about? Nice pants.
Thank you, George. I was extraordinarily humbled to be invited to do this today. Being wedged between George and Billie Jean is kind of like a dream come true. I think I'm done after this. I've got a few facts that I want to make sure don't get lost along the way because it's important. I have to read them. You taught me to do this. You taught me to make the notes. There's not too many. You kind of go, well, where do you begin? Wikipedia says Bud Collins is an American journalist, television sportscaster, best known for his tennis commentary, and married to photographer Anita Boothling-Swenson. That's a bit of an understatement, to say the least, that Wikipedia probably got it a little short for the guy that literally wrote the book. He wrote the encyclopedia of tennis. He also is the guy who founded the way that tennis is put on television today. But my first thoughts were that if it weren't for Bud, everything that we know about tennis on television would be different. And there would certainly not be a tennis channel. That goes without saying. As a matter of fact, when we were batting this idea around, I said, we can't do this. We can't make a 24/7 network about tennis if we don't have Bud, because it won't be authentic and it won't be tennis. But I think the trick is just try to imagine a world if it weren't for Bud Collins. Imagine our world. Where would we be today? And it's not that unlike imagining a world without Thomas Edison, or Madame Curie, or Steve Jobs, because they all invented new ways of thinking about their subject matter, and they all changed the way we see the world forever and experience it ourselves. And you know, what most people don't remember is that when, you know, it's the idea of a journalist calling television didn't happen before, right? There were people who announced, but there wasn't the journalist. It wasn't the great idea leading the way. The art form didn't exist until Bud created it. And when he put down the pen or the typewriter, occasionally to pick up the microphone, he changed the world forever. He was the first to jump from the pages to the screen. And my understanding is that the folks at the Boston Globe weren't so sure about that when that first happened, but it kind of turned out okay, so I guess they were wrong on that. We were wondering if he was going to talk. I have to read this because it, you know, his newsman sensibility and craft informed the way the medium evolved. But for all of that, and for all the brilliance in the fact, it is really his irrepressible personality, his emotion, his heart, and his curious nature that invited people, it allowed people to invite him into their homes through that lens every day. And that's something that today has set the standard for all of us, whether it be CBS, NBC, ESPN, USA, or certainly Tennis Channel. You know, he introduced so many people to tennis through television. It's almost impossible to think of. I mean, even today, I know that when I'm with Bud and Anita in public, people come up and they say, I remember the first time I saw tennis on television. I remember when